Your head hits the pillow. You start thinking, even when you weren't thinking about anything all day. And then you keep thinking, then you can't sleep. You're thinking about all your problems. Because problems creep up on you. And just when you think you can ignore your problems, that's really when they come and get you. At night, when you're going to bed, trying to go to sleep, not looking at any screen. When you start thinking about problems, you're going to get stressed out. It happens. We all get stressed out. You might be in the middle of a problem, and that stresses you out. But spending time thinking about problems that are in the future that may happen. We're not talking about problems in the future that are going to happen if you don't take care of something right now. We're talking about problems that you've invented, or your mind has given you, that you start stressing out about. And you start burning that energy. Wasting that energy thinking about eventualities, which may never be eventualities. And I'm not saying it's not good to plan for eventualities. It is. It's important to plan. But understand, stressing out about future events that haven't happened yet and may never happen, this is where the term, let's cross that bridge when we get there, comes from. Thinking about that bridge when it may never exist, you're not making any kind of productive progress for any particular reality. You're thinking about a non-reality that could become reality. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that aliens may never invade, but thinking about it right now is not going to do any good. We'll confront that spaceship when it gets here. Stop yourself from stressing out about things that haven't happened yet. Or, what I prefer to do, especially when I'm thinking about problems, even if they happen to be rational problems or, well, irrational problems, I try to discard immediately. Like the whole, are aliens going to invade us, right? It could happen, right? That is true. It could happen, but it's not really rational to consider that as an eventuality that I need to plan for. I have to plan for other eventualities. Things that more likely will happen in my life. Retirement being one of them. Okay, so I could sit here and stress out, like, how am I going to make retirement? My retirement, Well, right there is what I try to do. I ask how. So I contextualize that stress. I contextualize that thought. I contextualize the problem and frame it such that instead of burning my energy on a problem, I spend it thinking of solutions to either avoid the problem or to effectively address the problem, potentially before it crops up, or if it does crop up. Like, think through, all right, what's my plan? So then once I've got a plan, once I've got a way to address that problem, it doesn't disappear, but I've already got an answer to the question instead of just burning on the question, stressing out about something, especially the things that haven't happened yet and may never happen. Think through solutions. Don't just think about the problems. Think about the solutions to go with those problems. And I'm not going to say that coming up with solutions is as much of a waste of energy, because, I mean, it's critical thinking. That's never something that you should shy away from. Problem-solving skills, troubleshooting. But understanding what is relevant versus irrelevant, what is rational versus irrational, what is reality versus your fantasy. And I don't just mean aliens invading being a fantasy. It could happen. I mean more like, you know, you're stressing out because you start to think that something is going to happen that is going to upend a certain part of your life, right? They're going to stop producing Star Wars figures. And I'm not saying that's going to happen. I hope it never happens, right? But if I start thinking they're going to stop producing Star Wars figures, suddenly my thought patterns are going to focus on the problem. And I'm going to start scrambling, and I'm going to do everything I can do to avoid that that problem from happening, right? And just like, oh my God, they're going to stop producing Star Wars figures. I got to get all the Star Wars figures now because they might stop producing them. Yes, but no. I doubt they will. Like, it's a very popular franchise. Like, they mint money with every collectible that happens to be manufactured. So it's not exactly a rational stress. But it could stress me out, right, if they did that. But if I spent my time thinking about, they might do it, therefore I need to change my behavior. You can't change your behavior based on what might happen, especially if it's not rooted in any amount of logic. It's just a guess. It's a possibility. To understand what is theoretical and what is something that's a bit more, well, I should say less theoretical, right? Like actual, this is going to happen. That is where you need to spend your time. But if you find yourself just spinning on stresses and stressing out about future eventualities that may or may not happen, you're going to spend your time planning for a future that doesn't exist. And when you spend your time planning for a future that doesn't exist, you lose time planning for a future that will more likely exist. Deal with the problems you have now. Not just by thinking I got problems, not just by saying I have problems, by asking how can I address those problems that I have now? Like, how could I solve this problem? And I know it's probably telling you something that you already figured out. You know, of course, how? Yeah, of course I'm thinking how. But dwelling on the problem means you're dwelling on the solution even less. Frame it such that you're going to find a solution, not that you have a problem. And finding that solution may take time. It may take talking to someone, a friend, family, a confidant, talking to a therapist, you know, someone who might be able to provide better insight as to what you could do to address the problem. But what I'm telling you right now is if your problem is you spin out of control by stressing out about things that have not happened yet, you're wasting your energy. Stress out when they do happen. Absolutely. Like if they stop making Star Wars figures and you know this, and they're never going to be produced again, you have my permission to stress out. But only when we get to that bridge. You've got a journey that you're on right now. You're going to have to deal with the present, because the present is here, and the immediate future is here. There's a distant possible future, right? Bring your stress into the now and deal with it in the now. And I'm not saying dealing with stress is easy. That's a completely different topic. I'm just saying don't stress out about things that haven't happened. Doesn't mean that your imagination can't run wild. I'm just saying don't let it get the best of you. Cross that bridge when you get there. It's reasonable to think of solutions to potential problems. It's not reasonable to stress out about problems that don't even exist yet. Or, you know, keep stressing out about things that your imagination makes up. Because you got to get control of that. How? That's definitely beyond me, because everyone's got a different path. But consider what's rational, what's irrational, what's in the present, what's in the possible future, what's in your absolute future. Like, a week from now, I've got certain deadlines I got to meet. That's a problem. That's a stress. Okay, well, why stress out about something that may or may not happen when if I've got so much stress I can deal with in the day? That's a pretty big one. That's an important one. Or I got to get food, because if I don't get food, I won't eat. That's kind of a stress. But, you know, I got that. I can take care of that. I know how to solve that problem. I go shopping, right? Or I know how to solve the problem of hitting a deadline. Do the work, right? Okay, good. Done. Just got to do it. And then it's time management. But part of that time management is not wasting your time on things that may never happen. Those eventualities that only exist in your head. Because if you don't get that in check, they're going to start impacting people around you. because you're going to be spending your time doing things that make no sense. Like, what are you doing? Well, I'm getting all the Star Wars figures, because what happens if they stop making them? And then everyone else is going to look at you like, what are you talking about? Like, do you know something I don't know? Did they say they're going to stop making them? No, but they might. Yeah, and aliens might invade, and that changes everything. But until it happens, like, unless you've got some kind of information that I'm not privy to, you gotta consider that before you start stressing out and making decisions for yourself that are impacting other people. And yes, even snapping up Star Wars figures for yourself like that, if it impacts it could impact other people, right? Maybe it's not in your budget. Maybe other people wanted the Star Wars figures, but you're only grabbing them because you're afraid that something bad is going to happen, they're going to stop making them. Okay. Y'all have my permission that if they ever stop making Star Wars figures, you can come back to me. You also have my permission that if aliens invade, I want your word right now. I'm streaming this live on Twitch. As I'm saying this, I need your word. If aliens do invade, I need you, first thing, to come back to this post and say, Chris, you told me not to worry about this. No. I told you not. I told you let's cross that bridge when we get there. That'll be a completely different topic of discussion. But you have my permission to say, I knew I should have worried about this, Chris, and you told me not to. It can happen. But is it likely to happen? Stress out about things you can deal with. Problems that you can solve, because they're actual problems, not just theoretical problems that your mind has apparently given you. The mind is a very powerful thing, and it is completely up to you, whatever path you take, because I'm sure there are many solutions to this. I always, like I said, I think about solutions, even to problems that may not exist. Well, if that happens, then I'll do this, right? Okay. Done. I've thought of a solution. Great. I'm not going to stress out about it. Until I get there. If I get there. And I may never likely get there. You feel me?